Yeah, folks, I'm so excited to introduce our speaker today. And like I said, Charlotte has a couple opportunities to celebrate Pride.
Yeah.
But I also, in addition to showing up for our LGBTQ friends and community members, I feel like these months are also opportunities for us to, remember what we have to be proud for,
Absolutely.
right? To be proud about. Because pride is really a powerful affirmation of our authenticity. It's like sort of gives us the grace to show up in the world as our true selves. All of our talents, all of our accomplishments, all of our hopes and dreams and regrets and styles and sensibilities, and all of it is part of what makes up who we are, and it's everything we should be proud of. So, I just love this theme that we're exploring today. When we think about pride as an opportunity to show up and say, like, this is who I am. This is the work I was put on the planet to do, and this is the way I do that work.
Yeah.
Right? This is the way I do that work. And so I really feel like this morning's speaker really embodies that.
Absolutely.
So as you listen to Will White and his sort of explorations on the theme of pride, I invite you to think about, all the ways that you can unfurl yourself in the world. Like, how can you show up 100% truly, authentically in your work, in the way you show up? Like, how can you be unapologetically you? How can you show up proud?
Yeah.
And I just think that, Will instills that sort of inspiration in me. So
I'm ready to get some then.
I know, I can't wait. So for the past 18 years, Will White has been a self-taught fashion designer and illustrator working at the crossroads of visual art and high fashion, and creating everything from custom book bag prototypes to gowns to outerwear and even his own wife's wedding dress, which is awesome. Will is a rising star who's already constructed clothes for Max Azria, swimsuits for the Washington Redskinettes, a Bronner Brothers fashion show, and he was a semi-finalist on season 17 of Project Runway. One of his philosophies is that when it comes to style, you have the opportunity to become whoever you want at the drop of a hat, literally. I love that. Originally born in New York City, raised in New Jersey, and now living in Charlotte, he's continued his creative journey right here in the QC as a business owner, a husband, a father, and a visionary determined to dream up bigger and greater things, one design at a time. Daybreak Legends, here to share his perspective on our global theme of pride. Please welcome Charlotte's own Will White, everybody.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Again, my name is Will White, and I find myself operating at the crossroads of high fashion and fine art, just like Tim said. And just like Matt said. I wish Tim was here. Tim's on my mind. Tim is thinking of me. He sent me well wishes before he got here. So I want to start today with a quote, right? It says, "Not too many people could walk a mile in your shoes. Only you know your struggles, challenges, and obstacles. So be proud of how far you have come." This was something that I really internalized for myself because I often don't take the time to really ruminate on the wins that come. I'm always looking for what's next. And I know that some of you in the room might be able to resonate with that same thought process. So I tasked myself to sit down and really think about, what am I proud of in my own life? And my homework to y'all before we even get started is to go back home, do the same, and share some of those things with your friends and your loved ones so that you can start to build yourself up when the world might want to tear you down a little bit some days, okay? Thank you. Well, let's get into the story. I know, right? Okay, so first off, please let me apologize for anyone who I've now created a new nightmare for in the room. I promise it is relevant to what I'm about to talk about today, okay? So in my formative years, my relationship with pride started as a young designer at Howard University. So I had a professor, and one of the themes of Howard University was the professors were always really professional, excellent people that were doing real things out in the real world. So a professor of mine called Alba Quao, she was my fashion merchandising professor, and she also owned her own PR firm. And luckily for us, we got to take advantage of some of the perks that would come through in her day job. So one of those perks was she was now representing the new performance of Cirque du Soleil that was touring the world, and it was stopping right in DC where Howard was. So I'm in class, and she's introduced this project that is basically us chronicalizing all of ancient Egyptian dress. And we had to have a report and a visual aid. Me, immediately, my inner monologue is like, you're going to crush them all, Will. I was intent on being the winner and receiving these 2 VIP tickets that she was offering us if we got the highest grade in the class. But the one thing that I didn't have going for me was the work ethic. I was so rooted in my own heightened sense of self because by this time I was a designer on campus. I was the guy that people knew to come to whenever they wanted something original. And I was like, okay, I'm also the only designer in this class. So there's no way anybody is going to do anything that will touch what I am about to put out there. So it wasn't until 11:30 the night before a 10 a.m. class that I even started this visual aid. So obviously set myself up completely for failure, but completely delusion to the fact like I'm still going to make it work. I'm me. I'm Will. Come on, baby. And then at about 6:30, I finally stumbled to my bed and I was like, well, it's going to be what it is. And I get there, I drag this botched dress form up to the front of the room and I give it my all. I try to give the normal flair, the normal razzle dazzle, but I knew already that I had failed myself because I did not put in the prior work. So after everything was all said and done, I can give you one guess whether or not I got the tickets. If you guess no, you are correct, right? So after that, my teacher, she didn't pull me to the side because one of the things that was also unique about me was I was an overachiever in class. So I was that guy that would always raise his hand, always try to answer the question, and came prepared for the most part. She looked me square in the eye and she said, I know you could have done better. I was gutted, y'all. I was so upset with not only myself for failing myself in that moment, I was upset that I had disappointed this person that believed so much in me. And that's what I want to start with. Sometimes our own pride, our own hubris, our own inflated sense of self can stop us from really putting in the hard work in order to get where we want to be, right? Sometimes it's very easy to be like, oh, I didn't achieve this goal because they were just hating on me. They didn't appreciate what my work looked like. But really, it's not until you sit down and get really introspective about your process and your work and the effort that you're putting behind it that you might be able to answer those questions for yourself. I know exactly why I didn't get it. I didn't work hard enough. So I want you guys to make sure in everything that you do, you are going as hard as possible to make sure that you are bettering yourself from the last time you approached your art and your gift and your craft. Next up, I learned from this mistake, right? But I was still downloading lessons from instructors all over campus. I had a school that was not a fashion school, but we had a fashion merchandising course. So in that coursework, they did offer some electives that were sewing electives. I had a teacher, Lucy B. Josie, that always instilled in me from the very beginning, William, she said, your work needs to look just as good on the inside as it does on the outside. And I really took that to heart, especially after this massive failure that cost me my Cirque du Soleil dreams. And I started incorporating that into my work. And really, it's been this thing that's worked in the background for me ever since then. It's all about the work that you're putting in when nobody's watching. It's about having that pride in your process. It's about the moments where you kind of reach a crossroads where I've done this thing, I've brushed this stroke, I've sewn this seam, and it's good enough. It could pass, but then you task yourself to dig deeper and you go back and you completely undo all the work that you did in order to continue doing it. And I know many of you in the room have heard the adage that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in whatever gift you are pursuing. And I think one of the things that people don't really mention is that a bulk of those 10,000 hours are really just failing, trying your hardest, and no matter how hard you've tried, you have failed. You have not done your best in that moment, but you pivot and you take the time to double back and try it all over again. And before you know it, you've doubled the amount of time that you put in, and you're that much closer to being what other people might deem as an expert. So with all of that, I'm now this person on campus who has the integrity of work, the integrity of self, and I'm putting out pretty decent work. So on this next slide, I want to introduce you to kind of the final offering of this conversation. And like I mentioned, I was at a school that was not a fashion school, but this school had a theater department. And the theater department's costume designer was nasty. His name was Reggie Ray, and he was the epitome of not only excellence, but Black excellence. He was at the top of his game at all times. He taught us to, as many times as we could, make sure that we were keeping like or as out of any bit of our conversation so that we could present ourselves boldly and confidently to the people in front of us. So I sought Reggie out because, again, plucky, and I was like, all right, I don't have this major, but I want to study under you, and I want to learn anything that I can from you. Reggie had two requirements of me. Reggie said, you got to take my class, and you have to be my personal assistant. It was the most grueling process that I have ever experienced, not because Reggie was a bad guy, but because Reggie was excellence. It was like working for the hardest working person that you've ever experienced. And with that, you kind of have to be the second hardest person that you've ever experienced. So I took my time. I made sure that anytime he had an ask of me, I was doing my best to move heaven and earth to get that ask answered. And then it hit me. We talked about a burnout session coming out a little later. I was burnt out, and I realized it. I had enough fortitude to understand what was happening to me. And with my tail between my legs, I went to Reggie and I told him, Reggie, I don't think I can do this anymore. It had been about 3 months of really intense work. And what he said to me was, all right, make a calendar, and I want you to document every minute of your day, and then come and talk to me after that. I did just that. I went back with this calendar filled with all of the things that I had obligated myself to before I even sought Reggie out. And because I was someone who was intent on operating out of integrity, I couldn't cancel out all those things that I had already committed to. So I went back to Reggie. He looked it over and he was like, yeah, you're right. So I was still in the class though. And to my surprise, one day, Reggie is in the class. It's a 6 to 9 p.m. class. So it's a very long class. And he would have his tangents where he would just kind of go off and talk and educate us on whatever. One day he stops the class and he says, everybody look at William. Everybody looked at me. I'm like, my face is hot. I'm like, oh, Reggie, what are you about to do right now? Like, I can't deal with this. I can't have everybody in the class hating me. He says, William's got it. William needs to get up, leave school. He doesn't even need to be here. He needs to go to New York and follow his dreams. And I'm like, are you really saying all these things in front of these people that I got to walk on the sidewalk with? And sure enough, after the embarrassment wore off, I felt pride. I was so honored that this person who in my own head, I had let down tremendously, he still was so proud of the work and the effort that I put into my experience with him, that he believed so much in me that he made it his business to tell it in front of every single person that I was surrounded by. And that's the final note that I want to leave you guys with. Sometimes you have people in your life that are so proud of you and so proud of the work that you commit to your process that they will champion you in rooms where you have not even stepped foot in. They will look towards you for whatever their needs might be. They will find places for you when it's so much easier to find a place for someone else. And I think we owe it as creatives, we owe it as people who want to better ourselves, to always recognize those people in our process. So if you're faced with that moment where you could phone it in, you don't have to work as hard, that's the moment where you dig deeper, because there's somewhere out there, someone is believing in you so intensely, even when at times you might not even believe it yourself. You might not think I'm ready for this, but the people that have patronized your business, the people that support your movements, the people that share your work with others, those people are owed your excellence. They're owed your diligence in your processes. Reggie is no longer with us, but I know that he is proud of all the work that I have continued to do. He is proud that I have not stopped. He is proud that whenever I have met a challenge, I have moved past it. I have learned from the lesson. I have ripped every seam out and done it all over again. And I know that as I stand up here and I look into each and every one of your faces, I'm proud of you too. Thank you.
Will White, everybody, Will White!
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much.
So I pulled it up on a PowerPoint. I wonder if do you want to try to play it? Yeah, let's do it. All right, so we're just going to try. We're going to try to play this video. We pulled it up in a different program, and we're going to see if it works. And if it doesn't, then it was worth a college try, right? But let's just see.
Thank y'all.
Once again, I give to you Will White, everybody. Love you, man.
Thank you. Thank you, man.